Right off my last presentation not too long ago, so I just decided to kind of lace this one with some of the stuff from my last one because I enjoyed it. I want more people to see it. All right, so if you don't know me, my name is Michael Atwood. I'm the founder of Oshi app. It's a mobile application that helps promote businesses to Bitcoin users to increase adoption and really just kind of nurture and bootstrap Bitcoin economies all over the world. We'll get into that a little bit more, but first I really just kind of want to lay the foundation here for understanding of like what's the purpose of Oshi, why we think it's so important, and why we're seeing some of the success that we've had. So for starters, for thousands of years, payments have been predominantly peer-to-peer. So I mean, it's almost like etched into our DNA at this point, our behavior. Really, for only the past 50 years have they not. They've been more, peer to, all these different financial intermediaries and so on. So settlement was final. Payments were instant. There were no transaction fees. It's privacy preserving, and nobody can tell you what you can or can't spend with, or what you can or can't spend your money on. Right, so everybody kind of has that opportunity to buy anything they want without, government oversight or overreach. Like I said earlier, for the past 50 years, it's been anything but peer-to-peer. Like various financial intermediaries, trusted third parties, taking all your data, so on and so forth. And that's kind of been the norm for the past 50 years. But, even before that, we always had this problem where people were messing with the money. There was money printing, there was money clipping, different, mediums of exchanges, different, cash-like instruments, shiny rocks, paper money, whatever the case it may have been, seashells. It was going through monetization and demonetization cycles, so it became really difficult for people to really maintain, their wealth and their store of value. And of course, that was all built into the payments network of the past 50 years. So with Bitcoin, we really have this awesome opportunity to kind of reinstate this cash-like, instant settlement that we've had for effectively all of humanity. What's been going on, over the past few decades is an anomaly, right? And how they got everybody to use these different payment methods, the debit and credit cards, and really go online was the allure of earning rewards. There were some, convenience things, you have to carry cash and so on, but ultimately when it really started proliferating around 2000, 2010, it was really all about the rewards. There were things like the points guys, you get to earn rewards. Everybody would spend their credit and debit cards everywhere they went because they would always get some sort of cash back or rewards points or coffee points or airline miles or all this other bullshit. So what we realized, though, and actually the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston did this study, and it was pretty interesting. They said, well, who gains and who loses from credit card payments? Does anyone have like a wild guess, like who wins here and who loses? It's the payment providers, the processors, the people in the middle, the man in the middle. What they found, the study was actually kind of good. It was lengthy, but effectively can be distilled down to this. Thus, banks keep 65% of the revenues from merchant fees, while consumers receive 35% of rewards. So what this means is they were just reappropriating the excessive economic rents they were charging the merchants and just like funneling a small portion of that, 35% back to the user to keep them using this new payment method, to stop people from using cash and use their system, the system that they can basically control. And you're privileged enough, if you're privileged enough to use this, all that can be yours for 2.9% plus 30 cents per transaction. You get no payment, finality. It takes 30 to 90 days for them to actually settle, to actually receive your money. Again, even though it's not final for up to 90 days, it's going to take days. And I don't know what happened there. But so basically it's just not a good way of doing things. So effectively, this is what's happening, right? They're luring you in with rewards. They're taking the processing fees out of your back pocket because ultimately the consumers are the one paying for those processing fees. Those merchants aren't doing this for free. They're passing down those processing fees to you. And so, I just came off another presentation. I really liked it so much that I wanted to integrate it into this one too, but it's Confessions of a Bitcoin Evangelist. I've been onboarding hundreds of businesses to Bitcoin. I've learned a lot, made a lot of mistakes, but also had a lot of success stories. And there's several problems and issues that Oshi aims to solve. right? One of them is people believe like they should never ever spend their Bitcoin, right? Why would I ever spend my Bitcoin? The coffee that I buy today for $3 in 30 years is going to be worth a Lamborghini or some bullshit, right? People love to just joke around about that stuff. And I get it, and I'm not here to tell anybody how they should or shouldn't use their Bitcoin. It's a tool. People can use it however they want. But the reality is, like, there is this narrative here that I really think kind of needs to change. And I love this sort of meme here, this bell curve meme. But effectively, like, look, you're supposed to buy things with money unless you just want to go back to barter. And our options are effectively, in the not too distant future, either a CBDC where it's completely controlled and it's the same bullshit we've had for a long time, or it's Bitcoin. There is really no in between. Okay, so I want people to be a little more comfortable with spending Bitcoin, but that doesn't come without finding different ways to incentivize people to actually use it. So one of the main purposes of Oshi, I would say the main purpose of Oshi, is not just to get businesses onboarded to accept it. That's actually not very difficult to do. It's to incentivize and get more users to actually use it. So turning Bitcoin from a noun, Bitcoin the asset, Bitcoin the network, to a verb. Just Bitcoining. Use it. Again, using it, savings is a great way to use it. But I think to really get this bootstrapped and get adoption going, we need to convince or incentivize people to spend it. And fortunately, we have so many ways to spend it or to procure it. We actually just had a conversation about Azteco, right? You have Strike with just-in-time conversion, so you can effectively pay an invoice from your checking account, but that helps merchants. That also enables people to earn Bitcoin rewards instead of stars and coffee points and so on. So this is what we do. So consumers can discover various Bitcoin accepting businesses, or maybe just businesses that they didn't know existed around them, or obviously nationwide or globally. They can earn Bitcoin rewards for doing so, or just save money. So there is a financial incentive there for the users to actually participate in the Bitcoin economy. And then it's just pretty simple. We have various ways to redeem your purchase in store or online. And then the next portion of this, which we're aiming to solve a little bit of this, but the UI and UX just isn't ready. It's just not ready for any real adoption. And I push back on that quite a bit. I think overall, the user experience and the user interface of various Bitcoin apps and Oshi and other things are good enough. So let's just take a bit of a trip down memory lane, not my memories, but my grandma's memories. The Diners Club in the 50s, they had these little cards, okay? I'm not going to claim to be an expert on all of these, but effectively people have been using cash forever, okay? They convinced some businesses to start accepting this. There were a very small number of users of this for, quite some time. Account number there, 2,000. All right, which I just think is funny. Like, we have these very long guys like, 2000. The year that... Anyway, I already used that joke. I'm not using it. All right, so anyway, the point here is that this was a really cumbersome process for the business owners. Like, they had to handwrite all this stuff down, sometimes hop on a phone call the Diners Club with the account information and be like, so does this user actually have the funds? Do they have the credit limit? Are they good for it? The lines would be busy sometimes. So there's a scaling issue there. So how about the UX on this? Absolutely abysmal. It went from just handing somebody money and making change to all this crap. This caught on. In 1959, there was a crazy innovative solution here where they didn't have to write it down every time anymore because they had embossed the numbers and all the information. By the way, huge security risk here. They had embossed all the numbers in the card itself, so you could actually imprint it with carbon copy machines and so on. Right? The future is here. Okay, this saved so much time. There weren't errors either whenever they were writing these things down, so it was a big deal. This is what they look like, the future, ladies and gentlemen. Already, you're probably thinking okay, Bitcoin UX is definitely way better than this. This is a carbon copy machine. Also, don't spend over $1,000 or it's not going to work right. There's only 3 decimal places there, 3 to the left of the decimal. But you would put your debit or credit card on there. You put 3, this little carbon copy paper. It's 3 pieces of paper, 1 receipt for the business, 1 for the customer, and then 1 that you got to mail to the bank, or either, I don't know, maybe you could take it in, but I think what I read, they would be mailed mostly, okay? UX on that, overhead on that, employee training, headache. Also, it was quite literally physically painful at times to process a payment like this. They called it the knuckle buster. They called it the zip zap, because it was so fast that it made a zap sound or something like that, and the knuckle buster, okay? So because as you were doing this cha-ching oftentimes your knuckles would scrape on the carbon copy paper. People would develop calluses on their knuckles. So Bitcoin UX, scan a QR code. Oh, it's a little cumbersome. I don't know how this works. But generally, like grandma learned how to scan QR codes in 2020. We're going to be okay. At least you don't have to go through pain to process one of these payments. So again, it's not so much the merchant side. It's the consumer side. The consumers drove adoption of this, rather archaic technology here, right? And furthermore, how do we get more consumers? How do we get more businesses too? Because this isn't just accepting normal dollars. This is accepting an entirely new form of currency. Evangelists are few in number, okay? A lot of people talk about Bitcoin all day, but they're not really about Bitcoin. They don't use it. They don't encourage others to use it. They don't show people how to use it. There's a big, hook up there or hang up there. So we kind of listen a lot to Michael Saylor and all these other fantastic individuals that are describing and explaining Bitcoin to the masses in rather profound ways. And it's wonderful, but we have to realize I don't know really where the line is where it's just mental masturbation. So great content, but the whole purpose of Oshi for me was I'm going to learn everything I'm taking everything I learned and try to put it into action in a product that people are going to want to use. Now, I never thought I'd have like Ronnie Coleman in a Bitcoin slide here, but it seemed fitting. Ronnie Coleman, he's an ex-bodybuilder. He's effectively he's a proof of work maximalist. You can see it by the amount of joules he's exerting here, and the proof is in his biceps. So his quote, which I don't know, it's always stuck with me just because it's funny. Like, everybody wants to be a bodybuilder, but don't nobody want to lift no heavy-ass weight. Okay, everybody wants to talk about Bitcoin. Nobody wants to be about Bitcoin. They don't want to get it into the community. They just kind of want to listen to content and take it in and, blow their own minds, and then just wait until adoption just happens, right? So we need to change it. Like, everybody wants to be a Bitcoiner, but they don't want to evangelize it, all right? We got to change that. So with Oshi, one of the things we do is we empower Bitcoiners, the people who never shut up about Bitcoin, as it is, myself included, to actually earn Bitcoin rewards by sharing it with their friends. So if you share, it with a business or your friend, you're going to get 1% commission in Bitcoin rewards off of every single transaction your friend makes or every single transaction that business makes in Bitcoin through the Oshi app. So it's a really great incentive to get people off their ass and out in their community, talking about Bitcoin, shaking hands, kissing babies, whatever they need to do. So we're effectively creating a distributed sales force. You can orange pill your own community and get some sats flow in the process. We actually had a guy recently. He onboarded a barbershop in Austin, a South Austin barbershop. What's that? Yeah, let's go, Simon. Yeah, shout out Simon. So we onboarded a barbershop because it's all about local connections. Honestly, there's a lot of he happened to reach out. He knew a guy who knew a guy. He got in touch. The guy reached out to me. We got him all set up. Simon gets credit for it. So now he has an incentive to shill the shit out of this barbershop every chance. He set up an Austin barbershop club where we all meet up once a month or once every 6 weeks to go get our haircuts. He shills his ref link to the people who come. So he's making 2% off everyone plus the 5% sats back from his haircut. It's fun. So we're trying to incentivize that sort of behavior to turn everybody into kind of an affiliate marketer for Bitcoin businesses in their area. So one of the things that everybody likes to talk about is the businesses save on processing fees. Let's just remember here that 3 to 5% of zero transactions is zero. They save literally nothing. Okay, so we have to get transaction throughput. We have to get people to use it, or at least incentivize them to do so. They pay, let's say best case scenario for the majority of business now, they do $1,000 in volumes on Bitcoin. They save $30 to $50 a year, $1,000 in volumes a year, 30 to 50 bucks. Most of them spend 30 to 50 bucks a month on stuff they don't even use. That's not a selling point. So not only do we get them set up, but the whole purpose of Oshi, once again, is to get people to actually frequent these businesses, discover these businesses, and build the narrative of that transaction throughput, volume, savings, and everything. So we can get them set up very, very easily. We make it to where there's greater benefits than just the transaction throughput. They get marketing, promotions. They can offer the same loyalty points and rewards stuff as a percentage base in Oshi in the form of actual Bitcoin rewards as opposed to just junk that no one wants, punch cards, discounts, and so on, that very few people really pay much attention to. So it doesn't cost them any extra to just convert that into free Bitcoin for your consumer every time they buy a coffee from you, as opposed to, coffee punch cards. So yeah, we have a Square integration, Toast integration we're working on. So yeah, you can discover businesses and get them onboarded. So know the tools. A lot of people will walk into a business and be like, all right, I'm going to talk to this business owner today and see if he wants to accept Bitcoin. They walk into the business. Hey, would you like to accept Bitcoin? Let's say on a slim chance, which it does happen every now and again, the business is like, yo, I would love to accept Bitcoin. Where do I begin? Most people have no idea what to do. They're like, Moon Wallet? So like best case scenario, help me exit the fiat Ponzi, please, Bitcoin. Or like, I've been waiting for you. And they're like, I'll just give you a Moon Wallet to download and that should do the trick, right? No, like they have employees, they have staff. The business owner isn't always there. What are they going to do with this Moon Wallet? They need better tools. They need tools like, Strike or hey, BTC Pay Server. These are all like more enterprise level tools that can be easily used by even the smallest of businesses as well. IBEX, OpenNode, and so on. So we help with that. So as a business owner, you can use any Lightning service provider to connect to the Oshi app. We're not the payment provider. We want to be the promotions and rewards and incentive structure that we can build on top of all of these platforms. Furthermore, we're not a wallet. You can use any wallet you want to pay. We're not handling any of that. We have a primary focus of just bootstrapping and nurturing the Bitcoin economies and systems that are already in place and incentivizing the everyday user to actually go out of their way, which that out of the way is becoming smaller and smaller. I look at it now as like maybe a half step back, but giant leaps forward in what they can do by just, downloading something like Strike or whatever. So yeah, that's really it for Oshi. I think it's probably best if I just take some questions right now instead, as opposed to just keep on going on. You can follow us on Twitter, Oshi app, Duta is mine, or you can visit us at oshi.tech. The apps are available in the App Store. And if you want to get involved, if you have any questions about onboarding businesses in your area, let us know. We're here to answer your questions. Thanks. Any questions? Win toast. Working on it. So basically, the thing with a lot of these point of sales, it's not enough to just get them set up to accept Bitcoin. Now you have to think about what's going to happen on the back end. How are they going to train their staff on these things? How is it going to integrate into their point of sale? And there's different solutions out there. BTC Retail X is doing stuff like that for for businesses. Yeah. But one of the ways, I'm just trying to incorporate it as easily as I can and integrate it with these point of sale. So we can use gift card APIs. There's various APIs and interesting ways you can integrate. But yeah, Toast is coming soon, TM. We'll go from there.
Can you touch on some of the user feedback, both from the evangelizing pleb, like the Simons, all the way up through the experiences you're seeing with the businesses that you have onboarded? Yeah.
So, and this is pretty commonplace amongst all sort of Bitcoin economies, by the way. Like I don't know how many people have walked into a business here in El Salvador, right? Or in this area and try to pay with Bitcoin, and they're like, yeah, I don't know how it works, or not anymore, or something like that. Very common. There's very similar things that are taking place, like at the consumer level, with Oshi, with merchants. Sometimes we get merchants on. We actually had something recently where some people bought these lobster sandwiches from a business, and they got, I don't know, like 21% sats back, right? They were stoked, and they show up at the business, and the manager on duty was like, "Nah, we don't do this, I don't think." So it was like a new manager, and I reached out to the owner, and he's like, "What? I'll reach out to them, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, we had a talk, we fixed it." But there's a lot of that. So because there's not enough transaction volume, like these businesses are getting like maybe one transaction a week or a month, or some have had zero and it's been 6 months because there's just not enough consumers out there that maybe they don't live near that business, maybe they don't like that particular product or service. So it just kind of falls through the cracks sometimes, and that's common everywhere. So that's from the consumer perspective, that's a big kind of issue that we're trying to work through, which is also why it's important to find ways to incorporate it into the point of sale itself, so that the employees just know what to do, even if they have no idea that Bitcoin is actually accepted there. And so from the business perspective, it's really all a matter of operations. How am I going to train my staff? Like, how is this going to work with my books? But there are a bunch of great solutions, or taxable implications and all that stuff where all it's handled. So it's ultimately just the experience on the employee side too, and staff training.
So then is this kind of why you're talking about know the tools and like the importance of knowing the tools? Like, how do we spread that kind of knowledge base to the people that are out there looking to kind of get interested in like spreading this to their neighborhood, so that like we are giving the correct tools? Because I know from experience with something like Meteor Coffee, we go every Tuesday morning for coffee, and every single employee there knows exactly how to use the Bitcoin POS system.
Right.
Now, none of them have started taking their tips in Bitcoin yet, which is sad, but
Right.
They understand the process, the flow of payment processing at that place works flawlessly any day that you're there. So how do we kind of spread that kind of knowledge base for the people who are out spreading the knowledge to these businesses?
Yeah, so on one hand, I view Oshi as a tool to spread that kind of indirectly, so that we can kind of handle all of that, business consulting and stuff. And as a user, you can just start the conversation. Maybe it's a personal relationship you have, and then we'll handle it from there. But otherwise, all these services have generally free sign up and everything. So I recommend you get your hands dirty, like set up your IBEX account, set up your OpenNote account, set up your Strike, like apply for Strike merchants, see what the fees are, see what everything is, like send a transaction to yourself, play around with it. Same with the wallets. I mean, some of the wallets, the UX is pretty straightforward, but there are some hiccups there. Like I see people make the same mistakes, using certain wallets just because of the UX. But so play around that way. Whenever they start asking these questions, you know the answers. Yeah.
So it seems like this would be a good opportunity for merchants outside of the U.S. to adapt or develop this type of technology. I'll start again. So this seems like it's the type of application that a lot of merchants outside of the U.S. would be interested in onboarding, because sometimes in third world countries or developing countries, there's a big interest for sats, right, or for Bitcoin. What is the roadmap for Oshi to expand?
Yeah, the cool thing is that a lot of the payment providers that we use are already available in a lot of these countries. That's the cool thing about how we can just plug into existing APIs, so we don't have to like build out and get all this special licensure and money service businesses stuff and in other jurisdictions. Basically, one of the main things right now is just getting different currency denominations in the product prices. So having dollars and pesos and yen and whatever, which isn't too big of a hurdle. We're just working on some other things right now. But to your point, yeah, I mean, a bunch of businesses in developing countries, the global south, let's say, they don't have access to digital payments at all. Maybe they're completely unbanked. Furthermore, because of that, at the very least, the barrier to entry to actually promote themselves digitally is far more difficult, if not completely non-existent. So the option to sign up with something like Oshi, set up, link your Bitcoin Beach wallet to it, or whatever you want, really, of those services that we had listed there earlier. That's a really big value prop. We had a guy in El Salvador, it's actually Chimbera's uncle, and he was selling coconut water, and they always told me, like, he's never going to accept Bitcoin. We've tried, like, Chimbera himself could not get him to do this. And I approached him just in a different way. I said, it's not about accepting Bitcoin. Like, you want to promote your business to people and get on the map, like online, and like show off your business, and even offer people like an incentive to come and pay with Bitcoin. And he signed up like right away. I'm excited to go see him tomorrow, or I guess on Thursday. What day is it? Yeah, tomorrow or Thursday. Because the last time I came by, last adopting Bitcoin, and this was maybe 5 months after I'd seen him previously and got him set up on Oshi, he spotted me in the crowd and he's like, come here, and he was so ecstatic to be like, he has this whole tiki bar now. He's like, has rum and coconut, all this stuff that he has going on now, and it's really cool. And I like to think that I certainly had an influence there. So there are so many businesses that don't have any outlet to promote themselves or accept digital payments that could just plug into something like Oshi very easily and make it happen.
Hey, so along those lines, I'm curious if there are particular kinds of businesses that tend to be more receptive to accepting Bitcoin, or do you think it's more about how you approach them, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, the good and bad thing about approaching the smaller businesses, which I recommend, people that you can get in touch with the owners. If you're talking about like big, corporations and everything, like one, it's going to be near impossible to get a hold of them. But the small businesses are more eager to work with you, and you can keep closer communications with them. And that's what I recommend. Oftentimes, things like food trucks are really great because the owner's in the food truck. Like, they're there oftentimes, and they're looking to promote themselves. I mean, they have a business on wheels, for Christ's sake. So, they're very eager to try out new things. So I would say, keep it small, which is ultimately the purpose of Oshi anyway. But yeah, I mean, food and beverage stuff are cool. Take a look at businesses like Groupon or like Airbnb Experiences and all these businesses that are paying absurd, obscene commissions just to get their name out there on these platforms. Groupon 50%, Airbnb 20%, Uber Eats 30%, DoorDash 7 to 15%. They're willing to pay for promotions and marketability, and yeah, I think that's one spot to look. Find the businesses that are on there, which are typically the small businesses, and go from there. And also, then that they're already offering different specials and stuff, or they're paying high commissions. So instead, you could say, hey, how about you just offer this in the form of Bitcoin rewards instead?
Do you mind if I add to that, Michael?
Let me take this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick.
So the Oshi model is great, and I really I like the marketing part of this. And when I've talked to I guess businesses to onboard through a couple different people who I guess are your Oshi Army evangelists in Charleston, the marketing part is a big part of that conversation, and I find it fascinating, especially because basically it's free marketing based on your transaction, I guess your commission model for selling a product. But my actual question comes back to bringing on onboarding evangelists, basically. Do you have a coordinated effort to go out to Bitcoin meetups or reach out to Bitcoin meetups specifically to grow your Oshi Army?
Yeah, so we're working on that. Again, it's about spreading the tool, and yeah, you start with the Bitcoin epicenter of each city, which is the Bitcoin meetup. So start with that business, work out from there. But yeah, we're going to have materials. I've been talking about this for a while, but we're working on it actively now. And we're also going to be partnering up with Bitcoin 2023, which will help with the meetup scene. So people who attend meetups will get great deals, either locally or online, and on tickets as well. So that's one way we're going to really tap into the meetup community through kind of a proof of meetup punch card system that gives them access to awesome deals. And I think that's it. It's time.